Director. We're at the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority Board of Directors meeting. It's February 15th, 2022. We're at the Carson City Community Center in the Bob Kroll boardroom. Can I get a roll call, Linda?
Yes, Mike Jones,
Here.
Stacy Giomi, Steve Kim,
Looks like we lost him. Or no? Still there? Steve? Can you check and see if they can get him back? We have a quorum.
and as we wait, Steve Reynolds.
Can we keep moving with the quorum?
Yes, we have a quorum.
Thank you. May I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you. At this time, I'll ask if there's any public comment, anyone on the phone?
There are no callers on the line at this
All
time.
right. Seeing no public comment in the boardroom, we'll move on to item number 5, action approval of minutes for the January 10th, 2022 CTA board meeting. If everyone's had a chance to go over the minutes, does any board member have any changes or corrections to the minutes?
Move for approval of the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. I think we're just joined by Board Member Rader. Bobby, can you hear us? We can't hear Bobby.
Mike, this is Steve. I think I missed roll call, but I am present.
Thank you. Bobby, can you hear us? Bobby, you're going to have to unmute. All right. I think we'll keep going. Well, we'll move on next to the consent agenda. Would any member of the board like any individual item pulled from the consent agenda for discussion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Sorry. Move on to item 9, non-action items and presentation discusses only. Executive Director's update. David?
Thank you, Chair Jones. I've got 4 items to bring the board up to speed on for this month. I want to let everybody know that the job recruitment for the events and sales manager position closes this Thursday at 3 p.m. As of this morning, we've had 12 applications so far, and then we will begin interviews that first week of March when I'm back. So it's a brief update on the position. I'm excited Go West is underway right now in Reno. And this has been a full team effort because we've been down the events and sales manager position. So I want to thank the team for stepping up, not only for the show, but for the Adventure Day bus tour as well. So Chris has been assisting with all the printing for the Reno Tahoe territory component to the Go West Summit, all the materials for their appointments that they're doing today and tomorrow. Linda has been assisting me with putting together the kits for the Adventure Day participants. And then huge thanks to Lydia, because Lydia is actually doing the show, and she's taking the appointments right now, all day today and tomorrow. And I'm very happy to say that we have 36 appointments, and that number might have gone up with international buyers and media. So great opportunity for Carson City with these folks. On our Adventure Day tour, we're actually co-hosting the Hidden Gems tour with Carson Valley on Thursday morning. So Mary Bennett with the Ghost Walk is our step-on guide, and she's going to be on the bus from Reno to Carson City. And then when they get here, we're going to take them through the historic West Side, through the Kit Carson Trail. We'll then move on to the Capitol, where Woody Davis and another docent, whose name escapes me right now, will be taking our group of 40 on the bus through the Capitol, and also the Battleborn Hall exhibit upstairs on the second floor. And then the final portion of the morning, and huge thanks here to Bobby, Chris, and a team of docents and some alumni. The last stop for the morning that we have these folks will be out at the Stewart Indian School Cultural Center and Museum. So huge thanks to all of our partners for stepping up and making what I think is going to be an incredible morning for these folks. So that's an update on the Go West Summit and the Adventure Day tour. So, and then it was my plan to bring forward an update on the research that we've been conducting, the qualitative and the quantitative research for our new creative brand execution. Unfortunately, the fielding took a little bit longer than I had anticipated. In addition to that, we've actually asked our vendor to run several additional segmentations of the data. We want to look at the individual designated market areas. We're also going to group some things together by region, looking at like Northern California versus Southern California. And then we're going to break some things down on the age side of it as well. We want to look at millennials, we want to look at boomers, Gen X, and then we're going to do a deep dive on those 1,100 completes that were on the quantitative data to look at day trip folks to Carson City versus overnight visitors versus those folks who have never been to Carson City as well. So those crosstabs are being prepared right now, and I will be bringing forward the results of that research, and then of course the concept that ties out with that research at the March meeting. So please expect presentation to take place at next month's meeting. Finally, I am super excited to announce that we have a new component in our partnership with MoPo. So if you all recall, we had those folks come in. This is I got this in my notes. It's an app that in short is a digital rack in the app, which is helping to be a resource for interest-based things to do in our area, specifically in Carson City. And we've had some great traction since the launch of that app, and now we're actually looking to reach out to our lodging partners, and they want to do this with us because we were the first DMO partner to partner with MoPo. And so we're going to have a collaborative conversation over lunch this Friday at the Staybridge Suites, Carson City, at the Diamond Room from 11 to 12:30, and basically bring the hotel partners together for those that can join us to talk about how the app can not only benefit driving room nights, bookings to the hotel, but also how to serve their guests with what they can do, see, eat, you name it, in and around the properties here in Carson City. And it's a no-cost opportunity for our lodging partners. And again, we're the first destination that they're launching this lodging piece. So I'm pretty excited, again, about the partnership with MoPo, and we hope to see our lodging partners there on Friday. Again, this is about generating bookings for the hotels. It's about having a better guest experience for these folks, visitor experience, and hopefully we can also extend people's stay as well through the app. So with that, that's my report for the month. If there are any questions from the board, I'm happy to answer any of them.
Back to the events manager position. Are all 12 applicants going to be interviewed?
No. Any other
From the
questions?
board?
Okay. I'll go ahead and move on. Thank you. I'll go ahead and move on to 9B, the transient occupancy tax actual versus forecast report. So that's the big sheet in your packets. So we had a great December. This will go down as an all-time record, the 1.677 million for the month of December. And then things kind of fell out. I don't know what to say. January is not looking good, relatively speaking. In other words, we're not going to see these 10, 15, 30% increases as compared to the prior same month. But I took the liberty of making some adjustments after chatting with several of the properties in Carson City to our first quarter, and basically took January, February, March down to flat against January, February, and March of 2019, which again, were great months, right? So, but we're just right now not seeing this huge year-over-year growth like we did through December of 2021. In addition, for April, May, and June, I did take the forecast down a little bit. If you recall from last month, we had 7.5% increases. I took those down to 2.5% increases, which is that bottom row, FY22 actual forecast versus FY19 for the second quarter of the calendar, but fourth quarter of fiscal 22. So again, we're still looking at just over 24.2 million as our projection, which would put us at 16% over FY19. But I did pare this back based on conversations with several properties. And Steve or Chair Jones, you're welcome to jump in, as well from the hotel perspective. So that's my update on the occupancy tax report. So any questions, I'm happy to answer. Yeah. You go ahead.
David, you may have covered this before, but there was an exceptional November. What reasons for that?
No, in terms of November specifically, that was also an all-time record as well. I'll be honest with you, we're running great occupancy, but it's really, Mike can jump in here, it's the average daily rate through December. I mean, very high rates that the properties were able to charge, and it did not impact the occupancy at all. But I'll let Chair Jones jump in.
Yeah, I'll just say it's for December, occupancy was up, and I'll just speak from my own experience. Daily rate was up 10% to prior year, so more rooms at a higher rate. January, though, we did see a softening, and things are, trending more year over year, the same as they were last year. We're not seeing the same increases.
Any idea?
Well, if I knew that, Steve, I would have done it again in January. I think people were, out traveling more. They're a little, fed up with some maybe COVID fatigue, but COVID fatigue's been going on for a while. People wanted to see family, holidays. That's my best guess.
It seems like it's always down a little bit in the first quarter of even numbered years because you're comparing to the legislative year. And here we're comparing it to 19, which again was a legislative year pre-pandemic. So, I think that probably is the majority of it. We just, and in January and February, the legislature wasn't even letting people in the building. As I recall, I think it was, they weren't in session in January, but I think it was April or May before they let people in the building, if I'm not mistaken. I think we're probably going to stay down based on what you have here for probably right along that same period of time, for that same period there.
Yeah,
You've got an April increase, and I think I would probably, for now, wouldn't disagree with that. But
I think so. The first quarter is generally pretty soft.
The other thing too, in talking with some of the hotel properties, rates up at Tahoe have come down significantly as compared to, even if we look back at 2021, but also 2019, that impacts us, right? If the rates are lower in Tahoe, we're not going to get that overflow where people are coming down here to get a better rate. And so I don't know how to quantify that other than to say if rates are low in Lake Tahoe, then we won't see that same overflow situation where people will choose not to stay in Tahoe because they can, get 50 or 100 or whatever dollars off a night, and if they're there for 3, 4, 5 nights, that's a pretty significant savings, right? All things considered, I think if the rates are similar here in Tahoe, people will end up staying in Tahoe because that's where they're going to be basing their winter recreation, their skiing out of as well. So I know that to be the case so far in talking to properties both down here and in Lake Tahoe for January, but I'm told that that trend has continued into February as well. So
Have come down up at the lake. And in December, there was good snow. We were taking advantage of that. Saw more skiers down in Carson and in our hotel because they were taking advantage of a more family-friendly rate and
Right.
didn't mind the drive.
but we'll definitely keep an eye on this, as we progress here through the first quarter. Any further questions on the room tax occupancy report? Okay, great. We'll go ahead and move on to 9C, Arts and Culture Update. With that, I'll turn it over to Deborah Soul.
Hi. It's been a busy month. I have 5 items that I'd like to provide you an update on. I'm going to talk about the Arts and Culture Master Plan, where it's at, the public art policy. I'm going to talk about a new festival, the Mark Twain Days Festival, as well as telling you about the Art on the Trails and environmental art demonstration projects, and Mercury Cleaners Murals Project, and a Reno Tahoe Airport Art Exhibition. So the Arts and Culture Master Plan is still intended to be presented to the Board of Supervisors at an upcoming meeting. That date has yet to be determined, but I expect to hear something soon on that. Also, I've completed the first draft of the public art policy, and it's going to be the subject of an up-and-coming cross-departmental meeting with city staff who will also have a role to play in some of the implementation of this policy. And that meeting is taking place to try and clarify roles and responsibilities for implementing that plan. We have a new annual festival that will be introduced in 2023. The tentative date has been set for April 21st to the 23rd. It's a Mark Twain Festival, but the official name that has been agreed upon is Mark Twain Days. And this will be a 3-day festival that will take place in April during shoulder season when there's little in the way of conflicting events taking place, and when our lodging properties will have capacity for visitors. Hang on, I'm trying to get that to come back up for you. Sorry about that. A preliminary planning committee has been established, and Mark Twain Days is being planned as a fun celebration of Mark Twain's adventures here in Carson City, with a wide range of activities that are being planned, things ranging from a Mark Twain look-alike runway competition, special activities at the former Clemens home, literary performances and music performances, vendors, and a lot of other potential Twain-appropriate ideas are being explored. There will also be community activities leading up to the celebration, potentially involving some of the local schools as well. And it's anticipated that the Mark Twain Days Festival will be focused in the downtown area so that food and beverages can be available from our local businesses, who hopefully will come on board with special Mark Twain special menus. And as I said, there's lots of ideas brewing. The next planning meeting for Mark Twain Days is taking place this coming Friday. So we'll be moving ahead and trying to establish some planning committees and looking at resources that we're going to need. We've got a little over a year to plan this and to have the first event happen. And there's an incredible amount of enthusiasm around this one. I also have a new art initiative to tell you about. It's a Carson City outdoor art experience that will be called Art on the Trails and includes an environmental art component. It's an experience that's being planned for this year that reflects Carson City's great reputation for outdoor recreation, hiking, and the scenic beauty of this area. And the intention is that art stations will be situated along a selected trail to provide the opportunity for visitors and residents to enjoy a range of outdoor musical performances or to observe or try their hand at art activities like plein air painting, learn about environmental art. So I'm currently working with Parks and Recreation staff to confirm the preferred location for this, although I suspect it's probably going to be the Carson River Park Trail. And interestingly, the environmental art component has taken on a life of its own. I think that you can see from the illustrations there on the right, there's some examples of what I'm referring to as environmental art. There's an interest in offering a workshop with a guest environmental artist who would lead the workshop to explain the principles and give hands-on practice of creating environmental art on a project. And this is a project for our environmental art that uses only all natural materials from the immediate area. So it's meant to be temporary art. It's meant to degrade and disappear as the forces of nature come into play, whether that's wind or rain, or if this was in a different location, it could be ocean waves biodegrading. So it's an interesting way of introducing additional art activities, I think, into the Carson City context.
Is this like a weekend event, or how's this pictured?
Well, it's actually intended to probably be 1 or 2 weekends in the year. We haven't set a date yet, but we're looking at May and September. And it would be an event that people would have to sign up for and actually register to take part, because there will be some instruction and there will be some opportunities to just take in musical arts or performance arts. And it's actually a very unique idea. I have seen examples of this that work extremely well in other countries. I haven't seen much in this type of art on the trails experience in the US, except for there is another California company that's offering something similar, not exactly like this, but similar. So we'll see how that goes.
Bobby, can I, excuse me,
Yeah.
Deborah, can I ask, so, I mean, you're just in the exploratory stages of this?
Yes,
But you're getting positive feedback from the folks you're talking to? And
I'm getting very
I mean,
positive.
this is a great idea because it brings together, in my opinion, we've got some fantastic trails here in Carson City, and this to me is like a match made in heaven. So it is a fantastic idea. I think it's a great way to get people out on our trails, especially maybe those folks who are into art but not into trails.
Exactly.
I think it's a fantastic idea. So kudos to you for thinking of it.
Okay. In conjunction with this project, I was actually asked by Parks and Rec if I would create a demonstration piece myself to illustrate what this type of art is all about. And while I've been working on it, I've only just barely started. I've been out on it one day. It's already attracted a great deal of interest from people hiking on the trail who stop to ask questions about it. And we're really excited and say, I'm coming back to see what this is going to look like.
You know what I think is interesting? I think a lot of people have experienced this, but the park that I use most frequently, a couple of them, is the V&T trail behind the college, and the trails up above behind the college, and Long Ranch Park. And during the pandemic, which really this is kind of trail art, there were some young ladies who live in that general neighborhood who were collecting and painting inspirational quotes and great pictures on rocks.
Oh, really?
And leaving them around the walking trails for people to see every 50 or 100 yards or so. And it was really pretty inspiring to see that from these kids. I saw a couple of them out there laying their rocks down when they were doing it, and they got a lot of. Well, it was great first off because they weren't at school. This is early on in the pandemic, and they were looking for something to do, and yeah, just all around it was a great idea. But just something to throw into the back of your mind that could even be something as simple as that for a group of kids who just take some rocks that they have in their yard and paint some nice pictures on it. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. The other project I wanted to tell you about is the Mercury Cleaners project murals. There's a demolition and remediation project about to commence on Curry Street that's expected to take up to 2 years to complete, involving the Nevada Department of Environmental Protection and an engineering firm who will actually be undertaking the work. The Neighborhood Improvement District has also been asked to be involved since the property falls within the downtown neighborhood district. The property will be entirely fenced off while this work is being carried out. In order to minimize the visual impact on Curry Street, it's been proposed that public art banners be installed to screen the activity taking place at this address. I'm proposing that these be created on movable panels instead that would be images of the history of Carson City, essentially being that these would be the first artworks created for a more permanent public art installation that I've been planning in the downtown area that depicts the story of Carson City, and that can eventually be included in a downtown mural walk. So these are just some examples that I've put up of the sort of art that would be suitable for those sorts of temporary panels initially and moved to other locations. So the demolition permit has already been issued, and the demolition process is going to take place, I believe, on March the 7th, and the fencing should go up prior to that. So we're in the planning stages for this public art project, trying to work out size, materials, and costs, and to negotiate some funding towards the project since this was not in my budget for this year. I'm hopeful that we can put the mural project together based on the principles of the public art policy that I have prepared, even though that won't be adopted by that time, I don't think. But I'm hoping that we might be able to have at least a first mural in place by sometime in May of this year. We also have an art exhibition taking place at the Reno Tahoe Airport in the Departures Art Gallery. This is scheduled for November 20 this year of 22 until January of next year. And the title of the exhibition is We Remember Your Sacrifices, You Are Not Forgotten, the Story and the Art of the Stewart Indian School. This is an exhibition that I proposed actually last fall for the Departures Art Gallery that was declined at that time because they thought it was too controversial. Then the airport contacted me this month and invited us to provide this specific exhibition in their airport gallery from November until January. And they're apparently very excited about this show and said they might even consider allocating a permanent space for the Stewart Indian School in the airport, depending on how this exhibition unfolds, which is kind of interesting. The exhibition will be located in Concourse C. Up to 1,000 square feet of wall space is available, and the use of 4 gallery display cases are there if we need them. And I'm working with Bobby to help put together this exhibition, which should go, I think, a long way to introducing visitors to some of the cultural attractions here in Carson City. And we're also going to contact the Nevada State Museum next door to us to see if they have any material that they might want to contribute to the show that's not currently in use in their museum. So that's an exciting exhibition that will take place later this year. That's everything.
I thought I'd check in with Bobby to see if she has any, I don't know if you can hear us, Bobby, or can you?
Yes.
We-
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
I'm here. Did you want me to say something about
Oh,
the,
no, I thought you had a comment. We were talking about a great event for the Stewart Indian facility and at the airport. I think it'll be great. I think it's nice to be back in the event business. I would think with the Mark Twain, this event, the arts and trails, I think is a great idea, just like Board Member Giammi mentioned on the committee that you have putting together for the Mark Twain. And I don't need to know, is it a diverse group? Do they come from all sectors of the community?
Yes, actually, it's a very diverse group. We have McAvoy Lane, who's obviously a bit of an expert on Mark Twain, who's sitting on that committee. Ronnie from the Chamber is on that committee. The mayor is sitting on that committee so far. And Mina from the museum, and David Bugley from the cultural sector, and a number of other people who've expressed an interest. And I think that it's important at this month's meeting that we decide what subcommittees and groups that we actually need so that we can select people who've already put up their hand to be involved, to make sure that we get the right people involved on the planning committee.
Board Member Giammi?
Yeah, thank you. Just a comment, if I may, I was talking to some folks during the wine walk this past month, and the weather was ridiculously warm for January or February, just like it was this weekend. Anyway, we started talking. I started talking to them about the public art policy and how we're working on that, and you just brought up the panels, and it got me to thinking of something some of us were talking about as we were walking around, looking at the Kit Carson Trail, and thought, well, how wonderful it would be to, as an addition to the Kit Carson Trail, to have a public art trail that could go along with that. Whether they overlap or not, I don't know. There probably certainly would be some overlap, but it triggered that in my head when you were talking about those panels. If there's a way to sort of integrate those so that, the panels have some meaning to some of those Kit Carson components. So as you come up on the Ferris house, for example, you might have a picture of an early Ferris wheel or something that was, displayed there. And I thought, gosh, that would be fantastic to have an art walk and a Kit Carson trail walk, because then you start to bring those things in where they're destination events that people can actually come and want to spend the night for, and take a day to do each of those maybe, or do a whole day worth of that. So I think you're on point, and it's a great idea. So thank you.
Board Member?
Somebody.
Yeah.
How are you with participation from the artist community? How are things going with participation and interest from the artist community locally in some of these, or is it a little preliminary with it?
So far, the interest has been great. The Mark Twain Days Festival, I know that there are many local arts and culture groups who are interested in participating. The public art projects obviously will involve some of our local artists and perhaps some of our organizations. I'm not sure yet, but the projects that I've spoken about so far, there's been pretty good take-up on.
Any other questions for Deborah?
Great. No, I'm excited, you guys, about these projects and the environmental art project. We are going to talk with Carlos Perez, the Bike Monkey folks, because we have the Pater ride coming up in May, and seeing about integrating potentially a couple of these types of projects on the route that the race itself will take. And I think that'd be a cool thing if you're out there, you're racing and you've got people playing music, or we don't want to distract them so they, of course, run off the trail or something or run into one another. But I think seeing what we can do to bring some art to life as far as the event is concerned. So I love what you said about tying in cultural and the recreational opportunities that we have here. So we're going to definitely take advantage of that every step of the way. So nice work, Deborah. I love it. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to 9D, future agenda items. Any requests from board members for future agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to 9E, upcoming meetings. So our next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, March 14th at 4 p.m. in the same room. With that, I'll turn it back over to Chair Jones.
Thanks, David. Good report. We'll move on to agenda item 10. Any board comments or announcements and requests for information from any board member?
I will just bring up that the Board of Supervisors is doing a goal-setting session on February 25th. It's at the Adams Hub. So I don't have the agenda for that yet. I don't know what's going to be on the topic, but it might be interesting, David, for maybe you to pop in or talk to Nancy, see if there's components that might be of interest.
So I'm not here actually next week,
Okay.
and I'm not in a position to come in, but there is something we believe coming, and Deborah and Mike are going to be there
Perfect.
on Friday. So
Good.
they're going to cover it.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments from the board? Request? All right, and we'll move on to item 11, public comment. Is there anyone on the phone for public comment?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
And I don't think there's any public comment here in the boardroom. So the last agenda item is to adjourn. If I can get a motion. We're adjourned.